Hi there, I'm Fred Kreger, the Regional Vice President for American Pacific Mortgage, or APM as we call it in Texas. I'm here with Penny Green and Syndey Leppin of beautiful Austin, Texas. And one of the things I wanted to go over today is about some of the online seminars that we've been very successful with, as opposed to maybe getting someone together in a room and some of those, feeding people, all the other stuff that goes with, in-person seminars. And so what I really want to is ask a few questions so that we can kind of introduce the concept of this online seminar and some of the successes that come with it. So first, Syndey, is what was the cost? So kind of describe a little bit, because you actually taught a class as opposed to like an online seminar. Kind of talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, so I was lucky. I didn't have any cost associated with it. I went directly to an organization. So I'm part of Junior League. And they do a training and ed month. So every February they bring in experts in different, fields, and they have classes available for members to take. And so I was asked to teach a first-time home buying class. And so I didn't have to spend anything. I mean, they set up, the time and place and everything. And I didn't have to spend anything on that. And then I also didn't have to spend on leads to get people to come to the class, because the organization promoted it internally.
So they promoted, you didn't have to promote or anything like that.
It was sent out, they sent out emails, and they even did a social media post, and they advertised everything for me.
But you had an option to do in person or online, correct?
I did. Yeah, they gave me the options to do in person and online. I chose online, but even if I had done in person, they have a building where they would have put me up in their space. So again,
awesome.
No.
And how many people did you reach that day?
I had 75 sign up and 55 actually attend. So
okay, that's a great percentage of that.
And I got the contact information for all 75, so I can still reach out to those who didn't actually make the class.
And did you record it?
I did. Yeah, I recorded it. It's a huge file because it's like an hour and a half long. But
so you really share it with the people that the other 25 or 20 some odd people that did.
I did. I followed up with them after the class, and I sent out the slides and the recording, and so they have my contact information and can kind of revisit it if they need to. So even those who weren't able to actually make the live class still got the material.
And what did you teach on?
I covered just overview of home buying process and the loan process from like pre-qual to clearing conditions and closing. And then we also talked about first-time home buyer programs, so those down payment assistant grants. And then I spent a lot of time talking about different loan types and difference in conventional and FHA. And then also discussed kind of broad topic, what is underwriter looking for? What are some things to do and not do once you've gotten pre-qualified? What's the difference in a pre-qual and a pre-approval, that kind of thing.
Awesome. Now, were they able to ask you questions during the seminar?
They were, and I got a ton of questions, which was great because I know people were actively watching, just having me on in the background. I think where I went wrong though is I was trying to answer questions as they were asked, and I got a lot of questions. So I think that slowed me down quite a bit. I think if I were to do it again, I probably would just save questions for the end.
Okay, that's good.
Or something.
Yeah. Did you have the opportunity? So what forum did you, was it a Zoom? Was it a Teams? What forum did you actually present on?
I just used Zoom, and then I had everybody muted and cameras off. And I asked them to put their questions in the chat. So they weren't necessarily interrupting the presentation with questions, but I still was trying to answer them as the relevant slide was up. So
awesome.
And if you had a second person, you could have had that person kind of organize them if you needed to, and pass those on to her, the ones that were really relevant, and then she could answer those.
That's what I was wondering, if that, sometimes I know people have done where you actually have the administrator actually look at the questions at the end and because there may be some very, very similar questions, but that's awesome. Were there any pitfalls to it that you would say that you want to make sure people avoid? Maybe some of the pitfalls that occurred during that presentation, or no?
I really didn't have a ton of issues. Like I said, I had hoped the class would be about an hour. It ended up being an hour and a half. And I think a lot of that was just due to the amount of questions. So definitely having—
That's great though, when you think about it, right? I mean, when you have that kind of questions and it goes over, that means that people are really, really interested. which is
It
great.
was, yeah. So it's not a bad thing necessarily. People were engaged, and I noticed on my attendance, I didn't have a lot of people dropping off after an hour or so. Most people who started, I think I started with 55 and maybe ended with 50. So I didn't lose very many over the hour and a half. But I would have liked to have kept it about an hour. So,
Right. So
being
how
just-
are you following up with those people now?
so I do have all of their contact information, which is great. Like I said, followed up immediately after with the slides and links, and just I kind of phrased it as I want to be a resource. So I focus not on being so salesy about it, but more I want to be a resource to you if you have questions. I've had several people already reach out about prequels, which has been great.
That's great.
And then I plan to put them in Total Expert and set them up on just kind of a drip campaign to keep in touch for, prospects. I will say I have to be somewhat careful about how often I follow up, because these weren't leads. This is an organization, and I don't think the organization wants you spamming their members
Right.
because they brought you in to teach a class. So I'm trying to be conscientious of that too. It's a bit of a balance.
But I think
it's great.
That helped. One of her people that reached out said they had already gotten pre-qualified with someone else and wanted to work with them because she was more of an advocate of what to do. I think she said you need to be shopping.
Yeah,
Right.
I really encourage people to shop around. And I had two actually who reached out who had already been pre-qualified with somewhere else, and someone's already under contract with another lender, but they wanted a second quote and to kind
I
of
think that's awesome. I mean, think about it too, is that, when you actually market yourself through actually educating, there's a different response, I think, when people accept the information that you're giving. It's not a commercial, it's not an infomercial. It really is like, well, Syndey's now an expert because I just listened to her for about an hour and a half. I need to make sure I go back to her, as opposed to the other person that maybe gave me 5 or 10 minutes and I just tossed them my information and then kind of moved on. So I love that idea.
Yeah, that's exactly what they said. Was you seemed more knowledgeable than the other guy I talked to for 10 minutes. So
Awesome. All right, Syndey. Congrats on that one. So I want to shift gears a little bit. Penny, you actually did a promotion online seminar for home buying, but there was obviously a cost associated with it. And then kind of talk to me about how you promoted it, the costs associated with it, and maybe some of the pitfalls that you found.
Got it. Okay. Yeah, mine was a little bit different. It was more through Facebook. It was a Facebook ad. I ran an ad 2 weeks before, and I ran it 2 weeks before majority of the people, I think 9, maybe probably 9 people out of the 11 that signed up, or 7 to 8, I think, out of the 11 that signed up were mostly the first week. And I'd gotten such an immediate response within a 48-hour time period that after the first week, I reran it again for another week just to maybe see if I'm picking up different people. And I really didn't have but about 3 more people sign up at that second week. So the cost of it associated was the same. So my recommendation is maybe someone do a week and maybe more frequently, because the same amount of money I spent the following week, I could have just done another seminar week, and just planned it a week out. I didn't want it too long because I think you kind of forget about it. And I did a Zoom call with that as well. And I also did it at around 6:00 at night. I think Sydney's was set at 6:30 was hers. I would say no earlier than 6, because some of the people, like a lady joined, she was in the grocery store getting, I guess, dinner for her family that night kind of thing,
Right.
My issue was all of these people greatly signed up and then they didn't show up. The lady that was in the grocery store was actually the only one that physically got on that Zoom call.
Wow.
And we waited a good, 5, 10, 15 minutes to start that class. So what I did was I had one person, that person joined back at the very end, and we were chit-chatting among the agent, myself, and I had Syndey on the call as well to introduce.
So you partnered. So we say you did partner with a real estate agent on this.
Yes, I did.
Awesome. Okay.
And I had Syndey and myself and then Michael on the phone, and we were chatting about what worked, what didn't. I recorded it because if you'll think about it, the other people that didn't show up don't know how many people were on that recording.
Exactly. Right.
So
Only you knew. Right.
exactly right. So I said, for y'all that weren't able to make it, and I sent it immediately the next day. And then I followed up with an email and a phone call after that. So
what's your response, do you think?
not really. I need to do another one, but so I felt like maybe what came out of this is that one agent that I partnered with, I currently have a loan in process with him. He's finally under contract. His client he is a deaf client, and he is very involved in a deaf organization, and his company that he works for helps and promotes deaf people. So trains like School of the Deaf here in Austin. And so one of the things that the agent had reached out was asking if we could do a first-time homebuyer seminar for their organization.
That'd be great. And actually, if you could do it closed captioned, right?
Right.
You actually record it. So that way I know there's systems out there, right, that can actually translate your voice into a closed caption. So that would be awesome. Yeah.
And that's what we do when we get on the phone. I'll call in, it goes to a lady who's speaking, and then she's translating it to him through our phone conversations. So, there's ways that they can sit here and do the Zoom seminar, see my face, and then have that being signed to them or texted. Yeah.
So what are some of the pitfalls, do you think, that you would want to make sure the next time you do this that you avoid?
Maybe do it for a week time of advertising and then immediately have it. Don't wait a 2-week period because life happens on those types. And when the people joined, I think it'd have been better served if they joined. And then a lot of people don't open it up to sign up or register until a shorter window. And I think that would have just helped ensure more people that were going to be there. I probably push it back to more of a 6:30 or 7 as well. Gives people time to get home, get their kids fed, and then hop on that call. So I would probably do those two things on that as well.
Okay. Well, Penny, Syndey, I really, really appreciate you actually kind of telling us, how they're successful, maybe some of the pitfalls for people that are going to watch this. And I thank you both.
Thank you.
Thank you.